On February 28, 2026, Investors Business Daily cut its recommended stock market exposure to 40 to 60%. The largest advisory service for active equity investors in the United States told subscribers to reduce holdings by up to 60%. Sell the weakest positions first. The trigger was not an earnings collapse or a banking crisis. It was a single inflation data point released one day earlier. January's Core Producer Price Index, published by the Bureau of Labor Statistics on February 27th, came in at 0.8% month over month. The consensus estimate from surveyed economists was 0.3%. The print exceeded the forecast by 167%. That week, every major index fell. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 1.3%. The S&P 500 declined 0.44%. The Nasdaq Composite dropped 0.95%. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index sank 1.2%. But within those declines, the damage was unevenly distributed. Software companies fell over 2%. Fintech stocks dropped further. Pre-profit technology companies absorbed the steepest losses. When Investors Business Daily notes that the S&P 500 erased its gains above the 50-day moving average in a single session, the advisory response is formulaic. Cut exposure to 40 to 60%. Reduce risk. The question is why one inflation number produced that response. January's PPI report contained two numbers that mattered. Headline PPI rose 0.5% month over month, exceeding the 0.3% consensus. That miss drew initial attention from trading desks across New York and Chicago. But core PPI delivered the real shock to institutional positioning. Core PPI strips out food and energy, which fluctuate on OPEC supply decisions, Gulf Coast hurricane patterns, and seasonal agricultural cycles. What remains is the structural inflation signal underneath. In January 2026, core PPI surged 0.8%. The forecast was 0.3%. That gap between actual and expected was the widest since July 22, when core PPI hit 1.3% monthly and preceded the Nasdaq Composite's 30% correction over the following quarters. Annualized 0.8% monthly core PPI implies roughly 10% annual wholesale inflation. The Federal Reserve targets 2% consumer inflation. Wholesale prices lead consumer prices by 2 to 6 months through supply chain pass-through from factories to shelves. A 10% wholesale pace in January forecasts consumer inflation well above the Fed's target by the third quarter of 2026. Pre-market futures priced the damage before the 9:30 a.m. bell. Dow futures dropped over 500 points. S&P futures fell roughly 1%. Nasdaq futures declined 0.9%. By the 4 p.m. close, the Dow had lost nearly 800 points. The PPI print did not merely raise inflation concerns. It eliminated the rate cut timeline that equity valuations required. Before the January data, the CME FedWatch tool showed markets pricing 2 Federal Reserve rate cuts by December 2026. The first was expected by June, the second by September. Growth stock portfolios across institutional desks had been positioned for this easing cycle since late 2025. After February 27, the probability of a March 2026 cut collapsed to 9.8%. Under 1 in 10, June expectations dropped below even odds. Wells Fargo Investment Institute, in a research note published ahead of the March 2nd trading week, flagged the PPI data as a catalyst risk and warned clients that upcoming ISM manufacturing PMIs and ADP employment reports would determine whether the rate path had shifted permanently. The aggregate repricing totaled approximately 50 basis points across the forward curve. Markets moved from pricing a Fed funds rate of 4.75% by December 2026 to pricing 5.25% or above. The last repricing of this magnitude in a single week occurred in the first half of 2022, when the Federal Reserve launched its 525 basis point hiking campaign. That 50 basis points enters every stock price on the Nasdaq and S&P 500 through a single formula. The formula is discounted cash flow analysis. Every institutional equity valuation at Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, JPMorgan, and Wells Fargo runs through it. The model projects a company's future earnings year by year, then discounts each year's figure back to present value. The discount rate, built from the risk-free treasury rate plus an equity premium, determines how much a future dollar is worth today. When the Federal Reserve holds rates higher for longer, Treasury yields rise, and the discount rate climbs with them. For year one earnings, the discount rate applies once. For year 5, it compounds 5 times. For year 10, 10 times. That exponent is the mechanism that separates gross stock losses from value stock losses during every inflation surprise. Standard DCF sensitivity analysis, the kind run daily on institutional desks, shows that growth stocks with 70% or more of their value in cash flows beyond year 5 experience valuation declines of 16 to 24% per full percentage point of discount rate increase. A 50 basis point move, exactly what occurred on February 27, produces half that range. An 8 to 12% valuation decline for the most rate-sensitive names in the Nasdaq. The inputs changed at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. The outputs followed by the close. The formula's asymmetry becomes visible in specific dollars and cents. At a 5% discount rate, $1 of earnings arriving in 3 years is worth $1.864 today. Raise the rate to 5.5%, and that dollar becomes our $852. A 1.4% decline. That same one arriving in 10 years at 5% is worth $604. At 5.5%, it drops to $585. A 4.7% decline. The longer the wait for the cash, the larger the hit from identical rate movement. JPMorgan Chase derives roughly 70% of its valuation from cash flows within 5 years. The bank generated over $50 billion in revenue in 2025 and pays a 2.5% dividend yield at current prices. A 50 basis point rate increase costs JPMorgan 3 to 4% in present value. A cloud software company trading at 35 times revenue, with 80% of value projected 5 to 15 years out, loses 8 to 12%. In rate shock environments, Nasdaq PE multiples historically contract 2 to 3 times faster than Dow multiples. The February 2026 data confirmed this ratio precisely. The Nasdaq lost 0.95% for the week. The S&P 500 lost 0.44%. The Dow told a different story entirely for the full month, eking out a positive 0.2% February return, while the Nasdaq stayed negative. The PE compression translates directly to index price levels. Before the PPI print, the Nasdaq 100 traded at approximately 28 times forward earnings. After the 50 basis point repricing and rate expectations, DCF models across Wall Street recalculated the supportable multiple. The output dropped to roughly 25 times forward earnings. A decline from 28 to 25 on unchanged earnings represents a 10.7% share price reduction. No revenue miss, no margin compression, no customer churn. The underlying business performance at every Nasdaq constituent remained identical. Only the discount rate moved. Each 10 basis point rise in the 10-year Treasury yield has historically shaved approximately 2% off Nasdaq PE multiples. The February 27 yield spike, driven entirely by the BLS data release, implied 4 to 6% multiple compression for profitable growth names with forward earnings estimates intact. For pre-profit companies where 100% of value depends on profitability arriving 7 to 15 years into the future, the implied hit exceeded 15%. The ARC Innovation ETF, Cathie Wood's flagship fund concentrated in these names, confirmed this sensitivity with losses exceeding the Nasdaq composite average on February 27th. Investors Business Daily's exposure cut to 40 to 60% reflected this exact arithmetic. Block's announcement arrived on February 26, 2026. The payments company, formerly Square, disclosed plans to cut nearly 50% of its workforce. The stated driver was artificial intelligence. AI was replacing roles across Block's product lines faster than new revenue streams could compensate. Block's timing amplified the PPI damage that followed. Software companies, wealth management platforms, and real estate technology firms sold off on the 26th in sympathy. When the 0.8% core PPI landed the next morning, these sectors entered the session already at weekly lows. The disclosure attacked Nasdaq valuations through a separate channel from the rate mechanism. Throughout 2025, the Nasdaq's PE premium above 30 rested partly on the thesis that